Bionicle Generation 2 is officially over. This is our last year of Bionicle. It's been a year since G2's cancellation, so what is the state of the Bionicle community now? It seems like there have been some Bionicle, continuation projects that have cropped up, but I think one of the big things that has happened is after the demise of the LEGO message boards, Greg Farshty actually joined the TTV message boards, so he's in our domain, and he is continuing his reign of answering people's questions about G1.
I think, though, it is slightly different from what he has done in the past, where he has very explicitly avoided canonizing anything.
Oh, yeah,
Despite,
yeah.
A lot of people enjoying that kind of stuff, there's also a group of people who don't find that as enjoyable, and there's going to be a big backlash from that. Mostly, I'm disappointed because we were not able to get good guy and / or bad guy canonized, and we were so close. There was a big debate going on between LJ and Meso, and it was the best thing, and LJ just didn't want it to happen because he didn't want to review the sets, and Meso just wanted it to spite LJ, and it was great. I was doing it for the memes, but in the end,
of course,
failed.
yeah, it didn't.
And with that, died my entire hope of Bionicle ever succeeding again.
I don't really miss it that much. I remember back when we were talking about its cancellation on the day, I was just upset that we weren't going to see where it was going with the story, the developments, and those things never came to fruition.
Do you think that's kind of been quelled by the fact that we got the art book, which showed off some concepts for year 3 and things like that?
I think so.
It felt like you had a puppy that started to grow into a full dog, but before it never actually grew up. It got hit by a car. That's what it felt like. Bionicle died, and this time I'm pretty sure it's never coming back.
I don't know, even though, yes, it seems like it's probably gone forever, unless they reboot it into, system, which I think is really the only way it can survive with the decline of Constraction in general. And, one of the things that has been happening is TTV's Brickonicle project.
Which, to clarify, it's not a fan project. It's not canonical. It's just a podcast show that discusses the possibility of a system-based Bionicle line and how that would work.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people who don't like it. There's a lot of people who do like it.
I personally do like the Brickonicle project. I do keep up with it. I think the premise of it was to put themselves in LEGO's shoes to create a new theme, but as it's been going on, their focus is more in the story aspect of Bionicle, which makes sense since that part of Bionicle was so loved, and that's what people really latched onto, as well as the sets. But if it were really LEGO, then it would be more set-centric. But I find just the thought process behind how they are reworking certain elements of Bionicle is really intriguing.
And whether or not Matoran should have short legs or long legs.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think when they do bring up how things would work in set form, it usually ends up in a kind of nonsensical debate, I think, or an unnecessary one, really, since it is a hypothetical thing. I don't really care much for those parts of the discussion, but I do like the kind of intricate backstories and things that they are creating, even though some might say, yes, they are a bit too intricate and too detailed and kind of lean more into Bionicle G1's convolution. Among the projects that there have been, I think it's been one of the more well-known, I guess, in the community.
And definitely one of the more intriguing, for sure, as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's plenty of fan projects out there that either continue Bionicle or they reboot Bionicle in their own way. One that crops up in my mind is Bionicle Revolution.
Oh, yeah.
That project, it just doesn't appeal to me. It's very edgy. It's interesting. It's got Hero Factory in it. So there's that. I'm sure that appeals to some people, but to me, it doesn't really appeal to me. Brickonicle, on the other hand, no one else has tried to really design Bionicle as a system thing. No one would dare do it. I mean, Bionicle is most well known as being the Constraction theme. Most people who enjoy it are Constraction fans, so rebooting it as a system theme is something that we've never seen before. And so I think that TTV treading new ground with this idea, it's pretty interesting to see.
It's nice that they are bringing something new to the table, because a lot of the projects I've seen are just continuations of G2 or G1.
Yeah, or just retreading new ground. Yeah.
Or, retreading the same things that we've already had, but not really trying to bring a new discussion.
I think there's one huge flaw with Brickonicle. It's that they've been focusing more on developing the story first than the sets, which honestly I think is a huge mistake. I was asking Greg something one time, I think when the LEGO message boards were still around, and he made the point of saying that story did not come before the sets. The sets would be made and he had to write around the sets and make sure that each set had a little bit of lore in it and whatnot, and they developed the story from that, from what they developed as the toys first.
They started off with that idea because they were motivated by the contest that they held,
which was
making
nice.
Bionicle sets in system. They have strayed away from that, but I think the discussions about the story work better for a podcast.
That's fair.
It is really hard to convey what you mean showing these sets. You could do that visually, but they are a podcast. They are audio first.
They should really be starting out smaller because, like any good story, it doesn't always start out like dumping a huge amount of exposition and lore on you already.
The thing about it, though, is that they're still making a story Bible. They are creating all of these elements, but it's not the actual story yet. Like, of course, the story at hand will be much more simpler, but they're just hashing out all of these elements to then draw upon them when they do get to writing a story.
Right, but it's getting a bit confusing, I feel.
It's fair. They have said they are gonna try to organize it so it's much more understandable, I guess, or just, like, readable.
Right.
Yeah. Other projects that are going on include Joe Cool's Mask Power game. I haven't actually played it, nor have I watched OJ's.
What is that?
It's basically an open world game set in Matanui, and you can play as the Toamata. Basically, it's a 3D open world adventure. I think it's still in development, but it looks kind of promising. Maybe it would work better as a 2D experience, because 3D is much more complex, and I fear with a lot of fan projects, they often never get finished.
They're over-ambitious.
Looking at you,
Biocraft, yeah. I like it. I really hope it does succeed. I hope it gets completed, because I think that's something that everyone really wanted. When Bionicle G1 was coming out, there was a game in development as well that was essentially that kind of thing.
Legends of Matanui.
Yeah, it's really neat to see that someone is still developing something for Bionicle, even though it's been like 7 years since it got cancelled. At least
since
G1
got canceled.
Yeah, G1.
This is the last year that Makuta Fest is ending, and that's partially because TTV feels that Bionicle is no longer as relevant as it once was, and that's been going on for like 7 years now, so they're calling it quits on it now.
Yeah, I mean, they are making more streams as well, and it's...
Exactly, yeah, and they are expanding, and they could pull their resources towards something more productive.
I do kind of wonder if they are going to be continuing Chronicler's Convergence as well. It's probably a similar type of thing, although I guess it depends on how many community projects there are,
Last year it was opened up to system stuff as well.
Maybe they'll rebrand it, I think. That'll be interesting. But yeah, like, in general, what has LEGO been doing with Constraction nowadays?
Bad. The answer is bad.
Bad? Yes.
Hey, wait. Well, don't diss on that Scout Trooper set. That looks good.
Yeah, I'm totally gonna get it once it goes on clearance.
I mean, given the sets out there,
the trend with other...
might be soon.
Yeah.
It's Star Wars. Star Wars is basically the last pure Constraction wave, I guess, that they have going on. There isn't anything like Hero Factory. It's because Constraction really doesn't sell well, and because Star Wars is their very popular license, is the only reason why they are continuing it. But it will probably end, I think.
As much as I would like to believe that it is dying, we don't really have any indication that it is at this point, because we already have the leaks and the names of the sets that are coming out after the current wave. We have no indication to believe that it is actually dying out at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, though, because as someone who has bought a lot of the Star Wars Constructions, probably more than I should have, there just really aren't high quality sets, especially when it comes to the human figures. Like, there's only so much you can do with Construction and human figures because it's just not designed for humans. It's designed for robots. It's designed for for biomechanical beings. It's not
Oh yeah, that's
designed
true.
for things. And you can see that where the best sets are non-organic. General Grievous, non-organic. The Clone Troopers.
Or yeah, any that have helmets.
Or like the
you know.
Stormtroopers. Yeah. The ones that have helmets, the ones that have armor, it works very well for them. K2SO, another great set marred by a not so great function in my opinion.
Oh, the Skull Basher thing.
Yeah, it's just a little too wobbly for my tastes. Anyway, I feel like the future with Constraction lies with non-organic things like robots, but
What do you know?
with Star Wars, you can only take that so far. Like, eventually, you're going to run out of clone troopers. Like, I think we already have run out of clone troopers.
They still need to make more droids, right?
I suppose they can make more droids, but again, there's only so far you can take that before you run out of things to do. So, I don't know where it's going to be going.
What I think is they already have been incorporating Constraction elements into system. Maybe the Star Wars Constraction will keep on going and there'll be a new release every movie, but eventually I think with the Star Wars movie there will be a kind of fatigue and the quality of the sets will just diminish to a point where maybe just nobody will want to get a figure from the Star Wars Constraction. I mean, they're already kind of, I don't know, Chewbacca's weird looking.
They've been basically warming the shelves at all my local toy stores and even like normal department stores, so that's just saying something.
It seems like that'll just be the fate of Constraction. The parts will still remain, but for system sets.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. The
Ninjago
Green
movie
Ninja
sets.
Mech Dragon.
Yeah, the Green Ninja Mech Dragon has those sand green protector feet.
Lego has these molds. They're not going away anytime soon, especially the more basic ones. But with the future of Constraction in general, we'll have to see. So, like, I was visiting my Walmart or whatever. I was walking through the toy aisle and checking to see what was there. And I just had this moment where I had a flashback to a year before that when I was able to go around to stores and find Bionicle sets. It was just this weird feeling of a little bit of sadness, which, don't get me wrong, I'm still happy G2 ended. I still look back on that day a year ago with joy and
Childish
happiness.
glee is what it was.
With childish glee. That's still one of my most favorite memories is that day
You
that
make me
Bionicle
sick.
died. Everyone was so upset, and I was just so happy. But looking back on it now, it's kind of disappointing in a way. Because, I mean, what is the replacement? The replacement is these Star Wars Constractions, which are very clearly inferior. Just objectively speaking, they're not as good. And, like, I have no desire to buy all of them.
I was gonna say, it's the opposite for me, Slime. Our Bionicle sets at our local Toys R Us, they're trying to get rid of them as hard as they can, but no one's buying them.
You should buy all of them.
But they don't even lower the price, so it's like, what are we supposed to do? I can't afford these still. It's all the bad sets, too. Just a bunch of Ketars and Quake Beasts on there.
I guess that makes sense. I don't really miss having it around, I suppose. Because, again, the community is still active. Will Bionicle continue to thrive in the next few years, you think, via the community?
Probably.
I think it might. People are pretty passionate about it.